you send one child to a higher education institution, then you have to spend 20% of your total family income. Often we say that education space should be egalitarian. That is being almost disrupted, yeah, dismantled. That it's not about giving access to internet, not about giving access to the digital device. It is their capacity to use it. Capacity, or you can say it capability. So when a student comes to university, let's say from first generation families, they learn a lot outside their classroom. So I am an economist. I work on education issues and looks at the market and education nexus. So that's an area I look at. You said very clearly that education is being marketized, commodified. Private sector is emerging. So the statistics is very clear in this. The statistics says now almost 3/4 of our students who are accessing higher education, they are in private sector. 3/4. In school level, it was a little less a few years back. Now we have the statistics that says almost half of the school going kids are in private schools. And it is increasing rapidly. So it's not that they are, but it is increasing rapidly. So what I am thinking, or even the way that we are moving ahead, maybe 10 years or 20 years down the line, we will see that almost all children will be either in private school or at home. Because mostly what would happen that you will either have a private school or you will have a government school with miserable condition, or even public universities or higher education institutions with miserable condition. So not sending them, rather keeping your child at home. So kind of situation, I'm not exaggerating to that extent, but what I'm trying to see from the data is this. The picture is very, very clear. Having said this, let me get into how the costs are increasing. Once your private sector expansion in the education, like private sector expands in the education, like more and more schools are getting privatized, more and more higher education institutions getting privatized, household cost to education goes up very rapidly, very, very rapid. I did a recent estimation and that clearly tells on an average 20% of a household budget that goes to higher education for one child if you send to higher education. So if you are as a family, if you send one child to higher education institution, then you have to spend 20% of your total family income. And in some courses like engineering, medicine and all, it reaches to 50%. That means if you are sending one child to medical education, MBBS, you will be spending, this is on an average, half of your income. So if you are sending 2 children to MBBS degree, hypothetically speaking, which many families in India don't do that, and they don't dare to do that. I would say they don't dare to do that because you have to spend almost all your income on them. So you will nothing to eat, nothing to save, nothing to even getting a shelter. So it is becoming highly, highly expensive. And this the expenditure, private expenditure on education is growing very rapidly. So 2 points are very clear. It is being privatized in a market economy, and also the cost of education is increasing. Now let me get into the third point, what I'm trying to say. You are saying that artificial intelligence is coming up, technology is being integrated into education sector. So how it is playing the game? The game is like this, what I have understood from my research, that they are again commodifying the education to a greater extent, highly, highly commodifying and segregating. At one point of time, often we say that education space should be egalitarian. That is being almost disrupted, yeah, dismantled. So the inequity is the inequity is expanding in the education sector. And what I see, this technology market is expanding such inequalities. That's my apprehension, and it's happening. More interestingly, if you see the technology-led education sector is creating divide by giving a set of education to the elites and a kind of education to the marginalized. The argument goes like this. The market argues very differently. The market argues that because of this artificial intelligence, because of ICT and its involvement in education, we are expanding the choices for all. Like we are reaching to the bottom. But this becomes, I find this is a false statement, not completely in that sense, but majorly this is a kind of hypothesis that we are doing, and in ground something else happens. We have clear data in COVID times that who are the one who got technology-led education and who are the one who were left out from that. And mostly because of the divide, technological divide that we see in today's context, you will see the marginalized, poor, students from lower caste, even in gender term also, female, they are the one who are marginalized. Often we say that when we give them access, give the students access to technology, it works fantastically. That's the kind of impression, larger impression we have in general. But I see it very differently. In a World Bank report, it is being said very clearly that it's not about giving access to internet, not about giving access to the digital device. It is their capacity to use it. Capacity, or you can say it capability, what Amartya Sen defined. So capability to use technology differs significantly with their socio-cultural settings. And they have clearly found in Indian context, there is a significant gender divide in use of technology. If you have one mobile, for instance, in a household, and you have a girl and boy reading or studying in the same class, it is likely that you are giving that device to the boy, not to the girl. This is very, very clear. It has come out very clearly. So what I'm trying to infer here, the kind of technology that we are using, the kind of artificial intelligence that we are using in the education sector, that is actually dividing it further. I want to say one more thing in the higher education sector. In the higher education sector, we are looking forward to create something called digital universities. I don't know how many of you know about it, but there is a proposal in the public sector, like we are trying to get into digital universities where everything will be online. At some point of time also, there were recommendations that some part of your teaching should happen online. So all that things are coming up through digital mode, also including AI and other generative AI and other things. What is happening in that case also, I see it very differently. Because when I see a university as a learning space, I don't see it is only about classrooms, what is happening, the way we talk. That also builds your life. That also builds your personality. So when a student comes to university, let's say from first generation families, they learn a lot outside their classroom. They get into libraries, they get into canteens, they get into dhabas, they get into peer groups, like talk to the peer groups. They learn a lot outside the classroom. We have inequalities already, and the kind of idea that we are bringing into the market idea through technology, again making it less egalitarian. That's the idea that I am saying, and it is playing the market or playing the educational landscape very differently than the way that general public thinks. So that should be highlighted very, very clearly.